So in 2015, when Brad he had accepted an opportunity to bring in a high school intern for a marketing project. And truth be told, that marketing project was still undefined. And he decided that this was going to be that marketing project. He was going to go tell the story of Gainesville through the people that live there, one smiling face at a time. The story of this project has been a part of every conversation that Brad has had. And he's been super consistent. He shared 2 stories a week, over 450 interviews at this point, but every single week he's sharing the story of the people, and he's talking all around the town of Gainesville in Hall County, why this project matters, right? And it's because they have such a special community that's rich with great people. And the intention of this project is to showcase those people as a way of showing why Gainesville is such a great place to live. And who better than a real estate agent to be the ambassador for the local community? But why I think messaging is so important, and I think if it'll allow us, Tony Robbins, who a lot of you have no doubt at least heard of, right? He's got a global brand at this point. Public speaker, motivational speaker, and business consultant, said that to really stand out and influence others, which is ultimately what we're trying to do, your vision needs to capture and grab the hearts, minds, and energies of a significant number of people. And the reason I think this quote is important is because it starts with having a vision, right? You really have to not get in your own way, so to speak, about what's possible through a relatively simple project like this. But when you read the book, The Go-Giver, and you listen to Tony Robbins and the list of people that Simon Sinek, right, just came out with a really great video about how helping others and serving others creates this energy that is contagious, and it makes everybody around you feel good. And so, if we don't establish that vision and really put our convictions around the story of what this project means to you and why it's important for the community, then it can lose some of that energy transfer in the way that it grabs the people that you're trying to engage. And this will spin off into how we ask for interviews. But I think having command of the message and being connected with your why, and your why is uniquely yours, is a really fundamental place to start around a project like this. And almost all of you had an initial 30-minute conversation with me, and that initial 30 minutes was a storytelling 30 minutes around how Brad did this, how it came to pass, the impact it's had on his business and him as an individual, and the reality that this could happen anywhere. And at some level, you gravitated and aligned with that story. And so part of today's conversation is to challenge you to come up with your own vision and your own why as to why this project's important for you and important for the community, and to be talking about that all the time, right? We get really busy in real estate. We get really busy Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or more, who knows how long, but that busyness is rich with opportunities to talk a little bit about this project with lots of different people and allow the energy and the idea of this project to grow. Brad, you 5.5 years now, almost 6 years. Maybe you could talk a little bit about just the importance of the consistency in message and story and some things that have happened to you and allowed you to kind of affirm your position on why this project is so special.
I will. I want to say, the message behind it, I think everything's got to be simple. People try to make it too complicated, and people try to do marketing in a complicated way, but the best way to do it is simple. And so our message is, and for the most part, our partners are realtors. And my why is that, I'm a realtor. I sell property in my town, but I sell my town first. Even if somebody already lives here and they're going to stay here, you're always selling your town, your community. We're in an interesting place in the world right now where a lot of people are coming here from out of state. So they're looking at our town, they're looking at 2 or 3 other towns or 2 or 3 other states. So I feel like we're selling my town. So I wanted to do that in a different way. And, initially we wanted to make it as engaging as possible. Like going back to that Tony Robbins quote, win the hearts, minds, and the energies of people. And if we could win the hearts and minds of the people around us by giving them value, and not asking for anything in return, we give them value and make them a part of this amazing woven story in my community now that is that people love, and it is that they feel so honored when they're a part of it. And we did it differently than some of our partners have done this. I'm not saying it's wrong. I think it would be more personal if you did it different, but some of our partners have just blanketed, Facebook or different Instagram or different places asking for nominations and not doing a lot of the nominating themselves. But I think you can sit down with your best friend or your mom or your boss or your partner and say, who do we really want to nominate for this project? Who's a great person in our community that is well loved and is always positive, and then come up with that list yourself. And I think that, I think that's a great way. You're winning the hearts and minds by giving people value, and then you're also winning their energy, because in a hyper local way, this when I highlight somebody, their inner circle is energized, because that person's inner circle is now reading about a few of the answers. That person's inner circle might be people that were not in my sphere of influence anymore, but I've impacted somebody else's sphere of influence, which is, in the long run, is really good for me, because when we first started this project, it was just to create visibility for our group and further name recognition for my real estate group, and try to really be the ambassador here for this town. And so it is simple. It is the story of my community told through our people, one smiling face at a time. And people love it. Does that answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, I think it is simple, but I think it's important that message is prevalent in all the different ways that you talk to people. And Steve, you're one of the more senior partners that we've got, and you've had some success up there in Cincinnati, but to what extent do you author the story or the idea behind why you're doing it when you reach out and try to connect with people for an interview? And maybe you have some thoughts as this has kind of started out on things that have happened to you, having done a bunch of interviews at this point.
Yeah, it has been an absolutely fascinating journey for me. From a personal perspective, I have gotten to know more aspects, more areas, and more pockets of interesting, creative, uplifting people in my city, and that invariably has led to other interesting people or other pockets. Most of my interviews come from referrals from the people that I have interviewed. So it's fascinating that it basically, and I think Brad, you said this very well, that it's kind of the tapestry, woven tapestry of our community that that comes out one person at a time. So each interview leads to something positive, and then when it's posted, it's fascinating to me to see how the attendance or the publicity of that person's post just filters through their own sphere of influence, and occasionally it connects to somebody that I actually have known in my own sphere. And so it's been a wonderful experience. I try to, when I met face to face, it took some time, and I did spend a good bit of time creating a unique storyline. I kind of like this version a little bit better, where I'm just sending out interview questions. I follow up with a phone call to get a little bit of individual personality, and then I incorporate that personality maybe into a introductory paragraph. But the rest of the post is more just their answers to these questions. So.
Yeah, that's worked. That's been a wonderful thing that came from the COVID crisis. I think that we got better. I think we got more efficient. I look at the faces of it's like, and I told Brian this the other day. It's like the piece of exercise equipment in my basement that I hardly ever look at or use. There's probably 25 different exercises that I can do with that piece of equipment that would make me better. I see the faces of the same way. If you just do one thing, which is the getting interviews and posts on your website, that in and of itself is going to create a buzz and be better for your community and better for your business. But there's all the other things you could do too. I mean, you can visit with the people more. The more you visit with them, the more personal it might become for that person. And you could mail out something about that interview. I mean, there's a million different things that you can do, but the core of it is, spreading the message and getting the interviews done. COVID has allowed us to get a little bit more efficient that way. One of the last ones I did was, a friend of mine nominated somebody. I called that guy up. I barely know him, but I told him, one of the great things about my business is that I get to tell the story of my community, and we've created a project called the Faces of Hall County to do just that, to highlight the great people of our town that live and work here and that are positive. And you've been nominated to be a part of this project. Have you heard of it? And I just assume they never heard of it because they've all heard of it now in my town. I think it's better to act like that. But and he said, of course I've heard of it. I love it, and I'm honored to be a part of it. And I just said, I'm going to send you a link with the questions. Take your time answering them. But how about you and I get together for coffee next Wednesday at 9 a.m. at a certain place, and we'll spend 15 minutes going over what you put down. And that gave him several days to answer the questions. I printed them out. I took him to coffee. For our 15-minute coffee ended up turning into 45 minutes because he was just so fascinated and just absolutely loved it. He's already given me business because of it, and that's just been a week or so ago. And it's really amazing how much time that's actually saved. Letting people do the questions, but then spending a little bit of time with them afterwards is just as good as it was asking them questions in person to me.
I don't know, some of you may have seen the testimonial videos that are on the website, but Mickey, I know probably 10 days into getting your project going in Augusta, you were fortunate enough to be picked up by the news, and you kind of got off to a really fast start. Can you share a little bit of insight as to how that came to be?
Wow, I remember having a telephone call with you, and I decided to move forward, not really knowing what could possibly happen. And within, I don't know, was it 2 hours? I had like 500 people responding, and it just kind of blew my mind.
So Mickey got super creative. She was new to Augusta. Her parents lived there. She was familiar with the market, but in terms of doing real estate, she was new to Augusta. So she found a local Augusta-oriented Facebook group, and she just went on it and said, look, I'm going to do this project, and if you know someone that should be highlighted, I would welcome their name. And she just got flooded with people and names of people. And so off she went. And Mickey's she's a doer.
Right. I just started creating a list and contacting these people. And within 24 hours, I had my first interview, and I really didn't know, what to expect. And I met with my first interview, and it was just amazing. And, you know, I just started having one interview after the other, and the news station picked up on it. They contacted me, and they conducted an interview, and you know, it just kind of expanded from there. It's exciting, and you know, like Brad said, you know, it's about connecting to the community, and it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer for me, and it's a way to talk about real estate without talking about real estate. You know, brand recognition.
Yeah, I mean, the influence really is turning yourself into a magnet, right?
Yes.
And drawing people into you. And for that to happen, truly, we've got to be serving the interest of those people, not any, you know, self-interested motivation. And so it's just fascinating to see kind of how this can unfold. Um, I know, Reed, you've commented many times about how in your local market where you're doing this has sort of changed the trajectory for you in the way that it's connected you with just in a significant number of people that you may have otherwise not been able to talk to. Can you talk a little bit about some of the successes you've had?
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. So for some background, so I'm in the Barrow County market, which is like a quarter the size of Gainesville, to put it in perspective, right? So it's a small-ish market, but it's where I grew up, it's where I live, and it's where I really wanted to invest my time and you know, really wanted to make my businesses home as well, because I'm in marketing consulting, and I also own an insurance agency. But for a lot of my career, I'd really felt like I had to be in and around Atlanta in order for it to be viable. When Brian and Brad initially brought the idea, I mean, it was probably 2 years ago at this point, and it was like the perfect opportunity. It felt like the perfect opportunity to really make Barrow County my business's home as well as my home. And I would say within 3 months of launching this, launching the campaign, um, it I mean, it's impossible to say this without well, I'll just say it without reservation. It catapulted me um, into a circle that I felt like put me 2 phone calls maximum away from anybody in the community that I would need in order to get things done, in order to make new business happen, in order to frankly to be involved in other projects I wouldn't have had opportunity to be involved with. And so that's been great. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was confirmed to the board of directors for our local chamber of commerce. And those things were just not a part of the trajectory, to say the least, a couple of years ago, really maybe 18 months ago when I started this. And all of that came because I was able to go really cold knocking or just cold conversations to say, hey, look, this is my hometown, this is my community. I've got this project called The Faces of Barrow County, and I want to tell the stories of the people who live and work here and make this place great. And we had probably a handful, maybe 3 or 4 interviews with some real hometown heroes that just took off. I mean, we did an interview with a husband and wife owner of a local burger joint, and this place is it's locally famous, and we really highlighted them. We had an opportunity to tell their story in a way that hadn't been done before, and we just did a short little promotional video on Facebook, and we got something like 15,000 visits to our website within maybe a week and a half, and we got 4,000 or 5,000 views on the video, and that's for a community of about 60,000 residents. And so that just kind of launched the program. And to your point, Brian, I would say today there are very few businesses that I can't either walk into, obviously not literally, but just open the virtual door or the real door, and just have a conversation with the owner of that business, or be within a call or so away from that introduction. So from that perspective, it's been, I would say, transformational.
Well, you're a marketer, right? Did you lean on the story of why as part of your introductions as you had to get this going from scratch and kind of get it off the ground?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big thing for me, and it was I may have even adopted this go-giver mentality and the focusing on the why, possibly even at the expense of short-term business results. I say short-term business results. It certainly paid itself off in medium and expect it to in great deal in long-term business results. But this is, as I mentioned, this is my home, right? This is a place where not 10 or 12 years ago, and then again in the last 6 or 8 months, I've seen be in a really insecure place, right? Right after the recession in 2008, I mean, I think half of the downtown area was completely abandoned, had been repossessed, or the owners of the buildings. I mean, multi-generational businesses had completely gone under overnight, and this was a bleak environment. And to be able to come back here and to invest back into my hometown and to help show. Now, I don't want to claim that I'm the only one doing this. There's a lot of people in our community, a lot of young people and a lot of people of all ages, as a matter of fact, who are really leading a resurgence of the business community here in Barrow County. But to just show that it can be, this is a place where you can live and work and have a thriving business of different types, right? We've got, I mean, you're right. I'm a marketing guy. I do a lot of consulting. I do a lot of marketing campaigns, some for local businesses, some for businesses across the country. But it was sort of instrumental to show that you don't have to just be the local tire shop or the local restaurant owner to be able to put your business here and grow the business here. So to be able to talk about that and say that, look, the reason I'm doing this is because I want to tell the story of the people that are living and working and making Barrow County a great place. And with that mentality as the opener, I mean, I had people coming up to me left and right saying, hey, you got to go talk to, the sheriff. And so we interviewed the sheriff, and that went gangbusters. People love to hear about that. Oh, you got to go interview this person who owns this business and he's been here forever. And I would have people come and say, hey, my daughter or my nephew is starting a business. What can you go interview them? And so we had people from all different regions because they just immediately identified with the why, which was, yeah, we want this place to be a great place too. And so, I mean, that I would say was the critical key to getting all of this community participation in the program.
Yeah, appreciate that. That's super helpful. Lisa Marie, we've had some conversations, and you're one of the newer partners, but you've done a good job in all of your Facebook posts, leading that post with why you're doing this and what it is. And we talked about the importance of consistency, but as someone that's relatively new, I'd love your thoughts on the conversation.
Yeah. So, hey, everybody, Lisa Marie Kennedy, Lakewood Ranch, Florida. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to do it was because Lakewood Ranch has a lot of press right now, as far as it being the highest selling master plan community in the United States. So I wanted to combine the two and sort of, like we've always talked about, it sort of be the ambassador. I feel like I sort of already have a footprint in the community because I've lived here for 13 years. And Lakewood Ranch is kind of somewhat new, but it was easy for me. And I think Mickey had mentioned it. I think for some people, there will be kind of like times where you're kind of stuck. And maybe I think something that what Brad said that resonated with me, or someone said, is going into those groups and maybe saying, hey, I'm doing a project, because I started out with people that I knew, specifically business owners. And being in the real estate business, I knew my inspector. So she was one of the first ones that I interviewed. I haven't interviewed my title company yet, but I interviewed my preferred lender. So think of the people that you already have relationships with, and the chances of them, you know, doing it are pretty high. I mean, I think I shared with you, Brian, the only no that I've gotten was my CrossFit coach. And she's like, I don't think I'm worthy. And I'm like, what? So when you present it like the way it's supposed to be presented, people do feel honored, right? Because it's a project, and it's a big project, especially when you're talking about representing, and that interview is going to like go out to the internet, you know. But you know, for me, I started in COVID, so I didn't really know the process of like inviting someone to coffee or whatever. Now I feel comfortable doing that, but it was really just a phone call. Hey, I'm doing this really neat project. You'd be perfect for it. I want to tell the story, you know, that whole script, the story of Lakewood Ranch, one smiling face at a time. Can I send you the interview link, and you can, you know, do it. And if you do it in the next, you know, 5 to 7 days, maybe we can follow up next Wednesday, and then I can be promoting it on my page. So I had a lot of momentum at first, and then I also had some in the queue out, and then I felt like I was rolling, and then I kind of ran into a wall, and maybe this is a good segue, where I wasn't getting them back like I had expected or like I was before. So that step is really important, to set the expectation, or to set a phone call or coffee or whatever it is, so you do get it back.
Yeah, this is that was my first thought, Mickey, when you talked about, you know, we're still finding people to interview, but there's not as much urgency around returning the interview questions, because it's not as personable. You're not meeting them for an interview that's in person. They're not, at this point, not as closely connected to the story. And so we've got to have some storytelling as part of how we set it up, and why it's important, and what your goal is, what your vision is, right? We want to captivate their imagination through this project too, with a little bit of storytelling. But I think it's critical to say, if I send this to you, can you commit to getting this back to me by end of business on Friday? Right? I'm trying to share 2 stories a week, and, you know, it's really important to me that I can count on you getting it back. And I would, you know, obviously I would love to meet with you, like Brad said, for a coffee for 15 minutes and just talk about some of the answers that you shared and why this project's important. And if you can get that coffee on the calendar and get their commitment to do it before coffee, that's, you know, they got to meet you in person and explain to you why they didn't get it turned in. But there are certain things that I think you guys can do to help manage that process. And one of the things we talked about nonstop in sales training was just asking for the commitment. They may or may not do it. You may not get it back right away. But when somebody gives you a commitment to do something, it dramatically increases the likelihood that they're going to do it. And so as part of sending the link, it's like, Mickey, I'm so pleased you're going to do this. I can't wait to get to know you a little bit better. I'll get you over the link and the password to get into the link this afternoon. Can I have your commitment that you'll have this done by the end of the day on Thursday? And it doesn't have to be with a lot of urgency in the way you ask it, but just ask the ask. And if they'll answer that question, the likelihood of them getting it back will go up significantly. And it's just it's kind of a psychological thing. But you guys have to take some appreciation for your role in kind of managing that process also. And then the other side of that I would think would be just to get more. And all of you now are using this link. So if you've got some creative ways that you've been managing getting people to be responsive, this is a great time to offer up some input.
I've been doing this for 5 years, and yes, we've had a few people that said no. Over 5 years we have. It was funny because the first, 20 or 30 that we did, we didn't have a no. We got the first no, and it was a new guy to town, and he just didn't want any attention. The thing is, if you part of what I say to people, is that people need 4 things in life. They need food, and they need water, and they need shelter, and they need attention. And they're craving these things most of the time. They're craving the attention part. and they don't get it all the time. Nobody gets enough attention or recognition. And so if you're having a couple of issues of getting somebody to agree for you to give them attention, then you might be asking the wrong people. Because I just wrote this down when y'all were talking about hitting the wall. There are people out there hungry for attention. And if you go, the first thing about the Go-Giver, the first little thing on the cover of the book is that he wrote a comment that said, most people just laugh when they hear that the secret to success is giving. Then again, most people are nowhere near as successful as they wish they were. If you have this mentality of how can I make somebody's day to day, how can I give to somebody, people will come to your mind, and if you have other people you're talking to, people will come to their mind too. You know, who can you post? I forget our partner I forget the partner that did the interview with the guy at the gas station for 35 years or 25 years.
Austin Roush.
Danny,
Danny's
yeah.
here.
Is Danny here today?
No.
So Danny wasn't probably going to get business from the guy she interviewed that was at the gas station or whatever for 25 years, but man, that was a wonderful interview that just spread all throughout her community, and the things that happened because of the interview were just amazing. And so look for people who are positive people in your community that you can interview of all ages, and not just the who's who. If I were to go around the people in my community and make a list of the who's who, the people that get attention every chance they get, they're not going to be so interested in the next one either, because they already have that attention all the time. So I think it's simple, and anybody that has a problem finding the next interview or hitting the wall, call me, text me, call me or Brian. You know, we'll have 2 or 3 people on your list in no time, just by asking questions like, who's your child's Sunday school teacher, or who do you see most often at the school where you drop off your kids? Or there's plenty of people out there.
Think about businesses that actually get to know their customers, like a dry cleaner. I would roll up into the dry cleaner and sit down and talk to the guy that owns the dry cleaner, and I would just ask him, like, I want to put this community in the spotlight because we have so many amazing people here, and you've been here for 20 years. Like, who are the top 5 most positive, interesting people you think about when you think about our community? And I guarantee that dry cleaner will sit there for 2 hours with you and just rattle off all these great people that he knows and he's been working with forever. And then you that's your lead in. Like Lisa Marie, I was talking to John the dry cleaner, and he said, you've been going there forever and you've done so many amazing things here, and I'm doing this awesome project and I'm so excited to share it with the community. You've been nominated as someone that's contributed to this community in a positive way. Can I get your feedback about why you love this place? I'd love to send you a couple questions, and I'd love to grab coffee with you. And if you've got a little energy and you're intentional and thoughtful in the way you position it, I just don't believe, and I don't do this, right? Like I don't have a market, but I just don't believe anybody would tell me no. And so we've got to arrive at a place where we've got so much enthusiasm around what's possible through the storytelling aspect of this project that it just gives us the courage to go walk it into a business or to talk to someone in line at the grocery store, excited about what you're going to be able to do for them. And in the slide that's been up here for a few minutes, I use the word trophy intentionally because Brad has positioned it that way many times. Like we're handing out little trophies. This attention is a celebration for them being a part of a project like this, because our community is so special and because we've made it special through this project, that they're earning a trophy by getting to participate. And so if we think about, just the genuine value that we're giving someone in attention, as promoting them as a positive contributor to the community. And there are so many stories from you guys just about how somebody responded for simply being recognized. And I think, Nikki, one of them, you talk about the yoga instructor, I believe. I don't know, it seems like there are hundreds of them now as I've talked to you guys over the last few years, but don't undervalue the importance of recognizing somebody else. and the way that makes them feel for being recognized. Because a lot of people don't feel like anybody's paying attention. And so when you come along and say, I'd like to give you attention, because of the positivity and the way you impact our community in a positive way, it can be something that gives them energy off into the next few weeks because they've been able to participate. And that's what I'm saying that has immense potential through a project like this, is the energy exchange that's happening over and over and over between people in a positive way. And that has those people kind of aligning to your brand in a way that aligns with that positivity. And it can become really special. I don't know if anybody has any thoughts. I know Leonard, by the way, Leonard is down in South Florida, and I believe it's his daughter, but one of his two children go to school here in Atlanta. So he sent me an inquiry. It said, hey, I want to learn more about it. And like 95% of you, I set up a phone call, and he said, no, I'm going to be in Atlanta. I want to come to your office. And so Leonard and I, our initial meeting was in person for probably an hour and a half, but I knew right away. So Leonard is self-described as a connector, right? Anything that allows Leonard to add more value to other people is an environment in a world that he wants to be a part of. And Leonard, you're also one of the more senior partners at this point. So I would love your thoughts on this conversation and just some things based on your experience, the things that have happened to you.
Well, it's a great opportunity to meet you in person. And of course, Brad's reaching out through the internet. And as you said, I coincided with a trip to Emory where our daughter was attending university. So I was able to just kind of put my arms around it by meeting with you in person. And I said, this mirrors a lot of my real estate work, where I worked for a national builder for 10 years. So I was always connecting my customers that were buying into the community. And being an ambassador for Sarasota, being originally from Buffalo, New York, and then real estate in New York City, I was real pleased to be here in sunny Sarasota. And I wanted to welcome people to the community, those that existed in the community and why they liked it. And of course, open the door for folks coming in so that they didn't feel like an outsider, like they hadn't gotten here soon enough. I love the program. It's great. Alana did graduate Emory. She's in New York City.
Oh, that's awesome.
Working a little extra hard this year on my real estate transactions. Our son started Harvard Law this September. So
yeah, congratulations.
Real work to do in some real estate transactions. It was going really well. COVID hit. I didn't make the transition into doing it online. I prefer to do it in person, and I'm just getting back on track with my personal interviews. And the small businesses and the people that make Sarasota such a special place. They don't have to be here for many years. They just need to be feeling like they're part of a community. So I really loved what Brad put out initially. I mean, it really caught my attention. And I knew it was at the very beginning. And to take the risk, I really wanted to meet somebody. And I thank you again for, on short notice, getting together with you. And I just love the program. And this is a great opportunity in the Zoom meeting for us to hear some ideas and to see what people are doing with the program. But it's all of what you said it would be with the customers, with the people that you interview. And Brad, to your point, yeah, they're the who's who in the community, and they have that celebrity. But I always found excitement with just the average individuals that I would meet, and how they had a chapter in their life that was special, and you never knew what you were going to uncover with each one. So I love the program. I'm sold on it.
Yeah, hopefully I agree with that. I try not to do the who's who. I try to do just the average people. Yeah, I think that's great.
Yeah, and it's a validator. I love the site. It looks great. It certainly validates with customers, whether they're business owners or customers that I'm already working with. So it's really nicely done.
So I mean, we're almost, and I suspected this could happen, and I think it's awesome that it has, but we're almost to an hour. So a couple things, and I'm sure most of you are familiar, but one of the things Brad did really early on is that business card on the right. It's got his real estate card on one side. It's got the faces of on the other. And this has given him segue to go introduce himself to anybody, and he typically has the faces of side up, but explains that he's a local real estate agent doing a community project. That community project is blah, blah, blah. It has given out a multiple more cards as a result of having this. And I was talking to Wendy Ann, she's just ordered some of these postcards, but these are like leave behinds, right? If we want the story of this project to grow, and Kim Thrift, who's not on the call today, but she's outside of Greenville, South Carolina. She worked her tail off the first 3 months, getting this kind of branded collateral all around the marketplace. And it's just a way for the project to have more visibility and for more people to become aware of it, which facilitates the importance of it and future nominations and people.
I'm here. I've been on the call, Brian.
Sorry?
It's Kim Thrift. I've been on the call listening.
Good. I didn't see you when we first signed up. That's awesome.
I'm here. I'm listening. Go ahead.
Well, kudos to you because you did work your butt off when this thing first started, and I know that you've had some success with it. And so, man, it's great to hear your voice.
Thank you. It's good to be
so
a part of
we
it.
had different partners with different ideas that were like, where do I go to get my logo? I'd like to get this made or get that made. And so we created, and for those of you who don't know, and hopefully most of you do, but I lead a marketing company here in Beaufort outside Atlanta, and we're doing printing and graphic design and website development for companies all over the country every day. And so we already had all these vendors. And so we went ahead and built this kind of promotional products page on the website. So if you've got a desire to make this project more visible in your market, there are lots of ideas at thefacesof.com/marketing-collateral, which Ann is inevitably probably talked to you about, but I just wanted to bring it back up because you go to Gainesville now and have lunch with Brad, not only will 10 or 12 people say hi to Brad while you're with him going to lunch because he's become such a visible dude, but there's window stickers for the Faces of on retail storefronts, and there are stickers on cars and people wearing t-shirts. And it's not every person you see, obviously, but it's hard to make a trip through Gainesville and not see evidence of this project while you're there. And I think that also plays a role in making it, making it important. Brad mentioned a few weeks ago that there's now conversation of a mural in downtown Gainesville of all the people that have been interviewed as a way of really highlighting and celebrating what this project means to Gainesville. And I think that's pretty amazing. And so I threw this slide in here just to say, as you think about and you establish your own vision for what you want this to be, and you kind of get energized around how you want to tell the story, we've got a place where we can help you with some marketing material that's relatively inexpensive to kind of further that message. And you've been a good listener. I don't know, based on what we talked about wanting to achieve as an outcome of this, I feel really good about it. The energy was good. Hopefully you guys felt like it was a good use of time. But, if you have a question or you're stuck or you're bogged down in some way, and that can happen to any individual for a number of different reasons. But if you want to talk through those things out loud, please reach out. I know you've got a monthly call with Ann. Brad and I are always available. And hopefully as we have more of these, you guys will become kind of at least more familiar with each other. And I would encourage you to connect with each other too. I think that would be beneficial as you hear people talk about it in a certain way that aligns more with how you're thinking about it. Connect with those individuals and let's really see what's possible in the markets that you guys represent. Any other thoughts, Ann? I know we were going to talk about. Ann, are you there? I can only see 4 people and none of them are Ann. Is she there?
Well,
Here's an idea, Brad.
Yeah.
The Faces of should become a brokerage. A national, it creates a national team.
it's a good idea. It's a good idea. So some of the partners on here, our last 2 partners to join us were on here earlier. I think they still are. Let's see. Hey, Denver, you out there still?
Martin?
You may have had to go.
Martin, are you there? Yeah, I suspect people will start wrapping off pretty regularly at this point.
Anybody else have any questions?
So I will, what about, Angela has a question that she's put on the chat. What about giving people we interview an actual Faces of trophy? So Angela, there have been lots of different versions of what the trophy is. A lot of partners will frame in a really nice frame a printed copy of their interview, and we'll give that to them. But the idea of giving them something as a reward, and Reed is commenting now that he gave out t-shirts. I think giving them something that's celebratory as part of the process, I think only helps. In all those little steps, like Brad said, you have a piece of workout equipment. If you just used it for one single thing and you did that really well, it would add value. But there are a number of different ways that you can leverage this project to add additional touches with people in your community, add additional ways that you can help them feel better and make this project more important. And so great idea. And there are lots and lots of different ways that that could materialize itself in action.
So every month, one of the things I do every month is a postcard, like you saw. What we do for my real estate group, we have everybody's sphere of influence is anywhere from probably 200 people or more, and so we send out a postcard every month, or at least 10 times a year. It's not maybe around the holidays, but we recognize one of the faces of people we've done that owns a business in town. And usually we ask the business, hey, we're about to send this postcard out to 1,000 people. Do you want to add anything? And sometimes they'll say, yeah, I'd like to add, come in and bring the postcard and get a free dessert with your meal or something if it's a restaurant. We had a new restaurant that was around for 6 to 8 months that we interviewed and sent out the postcards. And he ran out of food twice that week at lunch because so many people were coming in the door to see his new restaurant, and they had our cards with them. And so he would say, that's our trophy. So there's a lot of different ways you can give a trophy. And the trophy in and of itself could just be the recognition that you give to people and the exposure. People ask, what do you charge for this sometimes? And this is all free, obviously. The exposure that we give is a trophy too. Angela, are you still there?
Yes, I am.
Have you done your first few interviews?
Not yet.
All right.
I'm making my list.
Good.
Yeah, I'm making my list. I have another appointment with Ann next week, and so I'll have all my homework done.
All right.
Steve,
I'm
I know
excited.
you signed up and then you went on a little excursion. You got some people.
Yeah, no,
interviews?
I've been definitely slow to start out, but I have a interview next week with my CrossFit coach. So, yeah, I'm excited. What other industries, businesses would you guys suggest reaching out to?
Man, one of the ways Brad said it to me, like, I think it's easy when you think about the project and what it can enable you to do to go target certain businesses. But like, talk to people in your neighborhood, talk to people that you're really comfortable with and they're really comfortable with you about the project and why it matters to you. And they're gonna naturally help you create that initial list of 15 or 20, which you want to get on your website with little resistance anyway, so that you can begin your social media promotion. You want to put content on your site. But every single person you interview, ask them for 2 or 3 names of others that have contributed positively in the community and get the project going. And then as the project becomes more visible, you will have something that you can say, hey, just check out my site, and you can approach any business owner you want. Part of that strategically, right? Like there's just inevitably going to be a handful of people in your market that you want to have access to that this will enable. But you've got to do the work on the front end to get the content, get the social media visibility, and get the story of the project kind of coming to life. And so I would work really close to your circle, Steve.
Yeah, I don't think that'll be an
Far
issue.
away.
Has anyone done video interviews, like a brief video interview, and put that on Facebook or social media?
I've done 2, and I've done since the start of this, I've done probably 450 interviews so far. 2 of them were on video because we thought, man, this would be a cool thing to do. It is, and Reed's going to tell you differently, and that's fine. If you're going to do it with a handheld thing for a couple of seconds as like a lead in, say, hey, this is so and so, and we have this whole interview. Go read it. that's one way to do it. But when we did it, it was almost like a professional video. And, you know, the lady that we interviewed wanted to come back the next day because she didn't like what she said or she didn't like the way she looked. And, you know, so the amount of time it took to do that, each one of those was crazy. And to get it, you know, it was crazy. So I would say that your time is, Reed's done several. You can go to the Faces of Barrow County and see on his Facebook page or something where he might do the whole interview in writing, but does 15 seconds or so on a video with us on a selfie.
Yeah. Is it Steve that asked that question? My experience, and we tried a bunch of different things because I same as Brad, I thought, man, this would be really cool to do video. And we did a couple of these, and you know, to varying degrees of success. We even had a production company come in and do one of the interviews with us. And I'll be honest, the more heavily produced it was, it just seemed to take too long, and it lost a lot of its oomph. Interestingly, we did get the best results when we could keep it really, really low, I guess low production value, for lack of a better way to put it. And Brad's right. We would do the interview, we would do the written interview, and then we would do a quick like selfie video out in front of the business. Or maybe, I think a couple of times we did it actually with the person that we interviewed, and we just said, hey, this is, you know, John Smith at such and such business. We just did a full interview. If you want to read that, go check it out on the website. And honestly, that quick interaction, I don't even know, I didn't do an in-depth study of how many people, you know, as a correlative number between the video views and then the article views. But I feel like just that quick introduction and the quick highlight video we did, that was probably 80% of the value right there anyway. And so we got the person some exposure. We got to tell people about their business. They felt really appreciative. It was off the cuff, so they didn't feel really nervous that they were going to be scripted and they were going to be mic'd up. So that was probably the most effective of the different video experiments that we did.
Yeah, you mic somebody up and they freeze. Yeah. So.
Oh yeah.
And I'll say what?
I sure freeze.
Oh yeah, you mic somebody up and they freeze. Y'all know that. Everybody that knows me knows that I do.
A big media company and have an annual publication where you print everybody you interview and have, you know, fully produced 45-minute videos and make a big deal of it. But the reality is we're trying to have a tool that allows us to endear and engage our community in a meaningful way that creates a resonant brand in us with the people we serve. And we want to do that in a way that we can still go run and grow a really successful business. And so I try to tell every single partner when we're just getting started, like keep it simple, like Brad said at the very beginning. Try to keep this as simple as possible without eliminating that one-to-one energy exchange that's provided in that coffee or that lunch or that interview. Like, I think you want to have that people exchange. But we spend a lot of time talking about, can we make this even simpler? Like, what can we do to simplify it even further? Because we want it to be something you guys can do consistently for a long period of time, because we know that without a doubt, if you'll do it, some significant things will happen for your business. And so what can we do to encourage that? And so, Steve, I know you'll struggle with this just based on our conversations. Like I'm going to go big or, you know, not going to go. And I would just be real honest with myself around my return on time investment as it relates to what I think is possible versus how they're telling me to do it. Anyway, any other questions?
You know, any other questions y'all have, you could send them to us, you know, by email or whatever, anytime, or text, you know, and anybody that's left that hasn't gotten one of my books, I'll send it out. Just let me know. I've tried to send them out to people, but I've had trouble sometimes them getting through to your mail. So anybody need one that doesn't have one?
Everybody's got a copy of the book?
Hope so.
So as you, and we're down to less than a third of what we had originally, but as you think about this, one, my hope is to find in advance a day on the calendar every month for us to just hop in here for an hour and just kind of talk about things that are going on with this. If there's a topic, a specific topic, or you find yourself kind of struggling with any element of it, and some of that could be mental and some of that could actually be an execution, let Ann know during your monthly call, or reach out to her, or let Brad and I know, because we're going to be, we challenge ourselves every day to figure out what we can do to be as valuable to you guys as possible. And this is just another step in an effort to try to do that. And in a lot of ways, value is determined by you guys, not by us. So we took a stab at it with today's call, but would love to hear your feedback on ways we can help you better utilize this platform and have as much success as possible. So if a future topic comes to mind, please send it in. Otherwise, hopefully we'll see you guys again on a call in the future.
Thank you. This was helpful.
Good. Good to see you.
I look forward to more of these. I was a little bit quiet and off camera because I'm just lunch and kids and homeschooling. But
sure.
I did want to ask, would you guys be open to recording these as you do them on a monthly basis and sharing it with the people who, like us? Like, for example, if I can't make it, I think this will be helpful for me personally, just because I feel like I'm not making the traction I want to make. And so having this on a monthly basis will be super helpful. But however, if I can't attend it, could you share the recording that you have of it?
100%. Yeah, this is being recorded. I will put it in our Facebook group. We have the facesof.com. We have the resource center that you guys all got access to when you first signed up. You might have to dig or ask Ann how to get back to that. But I'm going to create a tab in the resource center for our monthly webinar. It'll just probably be by date, maybe topic. And then we talked about maybe sending it out as part of the monthly newsletter. Here's a link to the most recent conversation. But certainly for those that want the help and find value in it, we want to give you as many ways to have access to it as possible.
Okay.
That doesn't excuse you from trying to participate in person.
Oh, for sure. No, participation is not a problem for me.
I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks. See you later.